Gaza is a hellhole right now. It was before the bombing started, frankly. And we're going to give people a chance to live in a beautiful community that's safe and secure. And I think you're going to see a tremendous outflowing of support. I can tell you, I spoke to other leaders of countries in the Middle East, and they love the idea. They say it would really bring stability, and what we need is stability. Yes, sir, please.
No, it won't. All right, that's it. No, we got to talk more. Hi, I'm Fred Wellman, host of Online VoteVets. You're right here live as we talk on Friday afternoon. Welcome to our friends who are returning. Welcome to all of our community. We love having you guys. Thrilled to see you. Leave an emoticon. I see you up there. Leave a comment. Say hello. I got you on screen right behind the camera. I love seeing you guys. Well, it was a freaking weird week, needless to say. Has a lot going on in Washington, D.C. We at VoteVets have been up to our ears and trying to get a handle on it just like you are. We're looking for those things that touch national security, our veterans, their family members, our service members, and there's so much to choose from. So we're going to start first. Let's go talk about two major things, right? Number one is we have got this Gaza idea that you saw, that Trump speaking there, he said, surprised a lot of people, folks, saying, hey, we're going to invest in Gaza. We've got some video of that, but the most important thing is that here's Trump. Let's run that Trump on America owning Gaza clip. So he was asked at this press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu about the idea that he announced that America's going to have a piece of Gaza, of rebuilding Gaza. Obviously, throughout our conversation here, I want to keep something in mind. It's a ceasefire, okay? The war is not actually over. Whatever you want to call this activity since October 7th it was a war, and it's not over. There is currently a ceasefire. Hostages are being exchanged. The Biden administration, and from help with Trump, we're told, helped engineer a ceasefire just before Trump took office. The war is not over. And I want you to think about those things. And it's a theme as we were getting ready for this show, I kept hitting in my head. And JJ, our producer, and I are talking. I'm like, he's acting like it's a victory, like it's all done. And there's a clip here of him at that press conference talking about, well, a reporter asked him a question. I want you to see his answer.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister. You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent.
Nobody loves this idea. Okay, I saw Republican senators on Capitol Hill being asked about this, being very hesitant about the idea of the United States taking, quote, ownership. Now, as I mentioned, there's no ceasefire. And the reason we're speaking out is because there's a lot of veterans on Capitol Hill of both parties, but especially Republicans, and we're not hearing from them. And we want to hear from folks to understand that there's no way to peacefully for the United States of America to go into Gaza and get involved in rebuilding. I mean, it just not. And the next day, a couple of days later, Callan Levitt, the press secretary, she was held to account. Look at this MSNBC clip about her being asked about the very key question that brings us all together: U.S. troops being sent into the middle of yet another Middle East conflict. And for those of us who don't know, there's the helicopter behind me. I served 22 years in the United States Army. I did Desert Storm when Kuwait got invaded. I did Iraq when George Bush decided we had to invade Iraq. I did 3 tours of Iraq. My son-in-law did a tour of Iraq. Okay, it was a multi-generational war for those of us who serve. 20 years, the longest war in American history in the Middle East. And so here's Karen Levitt being asked about U.S. troops being involved in this real estate deal.
Should the American people be prepared to see U.S. military on the ground fighting a ground war against Hamas?
Again, the president has not committed to U.S. troops in the region.
But it is an option.
I have said that the president has not committed to that yet. Sure.
If I could just follow up on that, though, why not rule out the idea of committing U.S. troops? This has been a long-standing...
This is an important point that Caroline Leavitt is trying to put in words that are not the president's, frankly, because he was asked very specifically about it last night, whether or not it would mean that U.S. troops would go into Gaza. And this is what he said. As far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over the place and we're going to develop it. So while he may not have said, we're sending in boots on the ground now, he certainly said that we're going to do it if it's necessary and we're going to take over the place. She also looked at what she called the apocalyptic scene on the ground in Gaza. There is no doubt about the devastation there. As you heard Richard Engel report, about half of the buildings there have been destroyed. Apocalyptic scene is also a phrase that has been used repeatedly in recent weeks to describe what happened as a result of wildfires in California. It's a phrase that is often used to describe the aftermath of a community hit by a tornado. So if apocalyptic scene is the baseline for the U.S. government going in and taking land, there may be some questions about that as well. She also said the president was elected with a mandate. Again, Donald Trump won, but he did not win with a majority of voters in the United States.
Should the American people be...
On and on it goes. Look, it is a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. And yes, it is destroyed. It is leveled. What Israel's done there has been significant. Secretary of Defense Hegseth, which is words hard for me to say, but SecDef Hegseth told Netanyahu was here. They're going to give him even more bombs, more weapons they can use. They're more deadly to take out the enemy. But to keep in mind, once again, that all this conversation is great, except an intelligence report in January, just before the end of the, but just for the ceasefire, said that not only is Hamas not weakened by all the war that's been going on for over a year, they're actually stronger. Here's a lesson we learned. For those who don't understand, I spent, like I mentioned, three tours in Iraq. And one of the key lessons we learned in that long counterinsurgency is very simple, that when you kill an insurgent, when you kill a terrorist, when you kill an enemy such as Hamas, often you create more. When I kill someone's brother in the Middle East, his brothers join the fight. Okay, it's a nasty thing. It's a spiral. The thing about what my boss used to call an industrial grade counterinsurgency or insurgency is you will never kill your way out of insurgency. Does that make sense? You're never going to kill them all. If you do, it's called genocide. And so when you say it's no big deal, and I see people saying it like, oh, it's great, we're going to go in there and redevelop it. There's 2.2 million people in Gaza by certain estimates, 2 million more in Gaza. Hamas is still there. They're not going to just let us walk in peacefully and say, hey, if you guys don't mind, go ahead and move out, which, by the way, is called ethnic cleansing, which is a war crime under international law. But apparently we're not going to do the ethnic cleansing. The words have changed since Donald Trump made this first announcement. This is just today. I think the real estate deal. Show that one, JJ. That's just from today.
No deliberations. It's been very well received, where basically the United States would view it as a real estate transaction where we'll be an investor in that part of the world. And no rush to do anything. We wouldn't need anybody there. It would be supplied and given to us by Israel. They'll watch it in terms of security. We're not talking about boots on the ground or anything, but I think the fact that we're there, that we have an investment there, I think would go a long way to creating peace. We don't want to see everybody move back and then move out in 10 years. This has been going on for 50 years, much more than that. We just want to see stability. That would be having us have that particular piece in that particular location, I think would show great stability and would lead to great stability in the area for very little money, very little price, and we wouldn't need soldiers at all. That will be taken care of by others. And the investments are taken care of by others also. So for no investment, I mean, virtually no investment whatsoever, it would bring stability to the area, and others can invest in it later on. But we're in no.
Okay. I have to take off my glasses and rub my face at the. Okay. For no investment, no troops, no nothing, we will go in and rebuild Gaza for free, I guess. Other people are going to do it, just like Mexico's going to build the wall. Sorry. The fact is, there is going to be a price. There is always going to be a price. There's no way to go in there in a place like that and be secure. And there's no way to clear too many people out without it being ethnic cleansing and war crime. There's no way for Israel to do that. And so somebody's going to do it. And I'm sure other countries aren't going to. Saudi Arabia and the Arab nations have already told us no, that they're not going to support this. So, and so, you know, VoteVets, we put out a statement right away. Why don't you show our statement, JJ? It's very simple. The U.S. military should not engage in nation building in Gaza. It's not a military mission. It puts a target on troops' backs. We should have learned this lesson after Iraq, but apparently Donald Trump did not. With one statement that he said this week, and he's been backed up since then, he recklessly put every American uniform in the Middle East in danger. So we're calling on our elected officials, especially Republicans, to either stand on America's troops, stand with our families, and avoid being the supporters of billionaires' real estate dreams, because that's what this is. This is the billionaires' real estate dreams. And now we know, since he made that announcement, that Jared Kushner himself wrote the statement that Donald Trump read at that press conference. Jared Kushner, who has said in public appearances, matter of fact, he did it in Harvard a couple of years ago, saying that Gaza should be the most beautiful place in Israel, develop the beach, put in condos. Well, it's all been bulldozed now. And so this is very, very dangerous. And we at VoteVets, so for those who don't know our history, VoteVets is now 18 years old. If you can imagine an organization like us being 18 years old, we've been around a couple of days. And this was formed when our founders came together in 2006 at the height of the Iraq War, came back and said, you know, this isn't what we signed up for. You know, we've now been, at that point, we've been involved in that war for over 3 years. We are involved in what we call an industrial grade insurgency. At that point, we were getting ready to launch the surge in 2007, 2008 to try and recover and beat back. We had troops there in Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom, until my son-in-laws were the last ones out in 2012. Then we went back again when the Iraq Islamic State took over. We ended up being in Iraq. We still, believe it or not, have troops in Iraq to this day. Okay? That's what happens when you put our troops in the middle of the Middle East conflict. I'm old enough to remember when Ronald Reagan sent peacekeeping troops into Beirut, Lebanon. And how'd that work out? How many Marines died in Beirut because the locals didn't want us there? They drove a truck bomb into the barracks and killed over 270 Marines in a tragic, tragic terrorist attack on United States Marines in a peacekeeping mission. Does this sound familiar? It's the same region. It's the same countries involved. And yet here we have Donald Trump speaking out. So we at VoteVets obviously are not huge fans of this, but really we know we're not stupid. We understand that Republicans hold the majority. Now, it was heartening to see, I think Senator Kramer spoke out against this, and others spoke to the news saying, look, I'm not a big fan of the idea of troops going into Gaza. But over in the House, we're not seeing that. So actually today, we actually launched digital ads against a number of Republican veterans in the House of Representatives in their districts on Facebook. It's actually our first ad buy of the year, of this year, where we are going in and investing to convince these men and women who are veterans of combat, of the Middle East wars, to speak up and oppose the idea of injecting our service members into the Middle East. And those include, here's the ads we're running right now. Our elected officials, especially those Republicans, that can either stand with Americans and our troops, or must trump the billionaire buzzes, like our statement. And we've been reaching out to the Arizona 2 with Eli Crane, who's a former Navy SEAL, Gabe Evans in Colorado 8, Marianne Miller Meeks, Zach Nunn in Iowa 3, John James in Michigan, who is, I believe, was a former pilot like me, Scott Perry, of course, in Pennsylvania 10, Jen Kiggins, Virginia 2, and then Derek Van Orden, who never stops talking about his military service. Yeah, we are reaching into their district saying, this is important, that it has to be stopped now before the rush to war, the rush to put us in. And they should be mobilizing. Our goal is to mobilize their constituents on both sides of the partisan divide to say, no, Call them up and say, this isn't good enough. And you should too. You should call up these representatives and say, no, we do not support the idea of our sons and daughters going into Gaza in the middle of a war, because that's the other part of this. It's still a war, guys. It's still a war. The war has an end. It's a ceasefire. And the idea of injecting our troops and continuing this fight, it's encouraging Israel to continue the fight, continue killing on both sides, killing more and more people. To what end? To what end? Okay. So we could develop it and it'd be very pretty. It'd be very nice. We can have the Trump Tower Gaza. What a wonderful thing. And we know that this organization and others, we were lied into preventable wars. And a lot of our friends got killed. A lot of our friends got killed. Okay. And all of us remember that. So we as an organization are speaking out and say, no, not this time. You know, if we are silent now, it'll be too late when it comes time. And so we're speaking up now. Hey, look, it's not always popular. You know, it's not always the thing people want. Okay. But I have kids still in service. And a lot of the military has kids in service still. And they are not in any way, they have no place being placed in the middle of a war in the Middle East without end. And it's shocking to see Trump sitting there talking. He still doesn't even know. He really doesn't even know how long this war is. This war has lasted 50 years. It's lasted ages, and it's lasted decades since Israel was founded in 1949, and it won't be stopping anytime soon. And it's key to understand that when Trump said that's such a huge deal. That's policy since from the founding of Israel. Policy since the founding of Israel that the Palestinians were part of Israel, and they would have to find a way to coexist, either create their own states, or it's always been a part of it. The removal of the Palestinians from the Israel state has been a third rail in Israeli politics. Until now. Okay. And now the president of the United States is standing next to the prime minister of Israel, literally saying they should ethnically cleanse the Palestinians out of Gaza. And who should do it? Who's going to be the ones doing it? Our sons and daughters, our fathers, brothers, sisters. Those are the ones they want to have go in there. So anyone who tries to make you believe that all this will be peaceful, it won't cost money, it won't cost troops, just take a second and look at the reality. And the reality is it's never been that way. It's never been that way. And you bring up a good point, Megan. We left Afghanistan in shambles. We left allies there. We're still trying to get out. We had a show about that, the Afghan allies who were left behind because of the changes to the refugee policy in the United States. All of this is a mess. We do know that Hamas and ISIS are already recruiting off of this. We've actually bumped their recruiting. We bumped Hamas's recruiting because Donald Trump went on TV to say this. So now we need Republicans to stand up and put their foot down. They weren't elected to start Middle East wars. They weren't elected. This is the guy literally whose talking points were he doesn't start wars. Okay. I mean, I would do this show right here and I would see your comments on the screen. I can see your comments and sorry about it. I can see it. And we would see the comments saying Donald Trump's going to not start any more wars. That's why I don't want any more war. You should support him because he's not going to start wars. And we're literally having a show 3 weeks into his administration talking about don't start a fucking war. Don't start another war. And I think it's ironic. I mean, ironic might be a word. I think it's a terrible thing, but that's what we're here for. So that's what we're standing. We're excited to be announce our first investment in ads this year. Those ads are something we care about, which is the idea of placing our sons and daughters in harm's way for the dreams of billionaires. So I hope you'll support us. I'll mention it again. I'll mention it at the end, but votevets.org is where you can find us. You can support our efforts there. And if you donate, the money goes to things like this. If people wonder where your money goes to at VoteVets, it goes to things like this. It goes to convincing Republicans and Democrats to stand up to these kind of really just awful things. So that's now there's other stuff going on too. As you know, Elon Musk has been mucking about in the government quite a bit, and he's been going after different departments. USAID, which said a lot. You may have seen a video from us this week about that. USAID was the people next to us. When you talk about getting rid of USAID, when I was in northern Iraq doing civil affairs, it was USAID that came and helped give us money to build wells, to build chicken coops for our farmers, to help them get grain, much of the grain. USAID buys $8 billion worth of American rice and lentils each year to distribute across the country, across the world, excuse me. They're one of the biggest purchasers of American rice, and that agency is being dismantled as we speak. Then we heard nasty rumors this week that Doge was going to VA. And that caused a direct reaction from us and others. And here's an ad we've been running. If you want, Jay, do you want to show what we've got?
Democratic lawmakers today taking a stand against the new Trump administration's recent attacks on USAID.
And VoteVets members are leading the fight, protecting America's national security from the illegal assaults by unelected President Musk and his puppet Donald Trump.
I spent 25 years in the Army defending this nation, wearing the uniform. And each and every one of those days, we worked with our partners at USAID to keep this country strong and safe.
Seeing the security guards there instructed to ban and bar USAID employees from getting in today is absolutely shameful.
We step back and we create a vacuum. You know who steps in? It's Russia, it's China.
USAID is less than 1% of the federal budget, preventing crises and helping to keep enemies from gaining global strength at our expense.
Democrats, my colleagues, we're going to fight like hell to make sure that we preserve our national security.
My friend Eugene Vindman, yeah, in that last one. Andy Kim showed up Monday morning at 7:15 in the morning in D.C. to pound the doors of USAID, where he began his career. You know, those of us who served in the longest war in American history, which we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, most of us served by USAID, with USAID by our side. Much of the reason we had success with the time we had success fighting back against insurgency, fighting it back against the people joining the insurgency, was because we were getting money and aid from our friends at USAID to support them. You know, many people would join the insurgency for the purpose because it paid. I can't tell you how often we captured someone who planted a bomb up in northern Iraq, and we found out it's because it gave them money, and their kids needed clothes. They needed food to feed their family. Unfortunately, that does drive a lot of disenchantment in the world, like anywhere. And so now USAID is being attacked. They've tried to take apart their organization, supposedly firing all 10,000 employees, but a couple of hundred. This will leave a massive vacuum. And if you don't think China is more than happy to step into that vacuum and provide plenty of money to back things up, you're a fool. And the funny thing about this is Marco Rubio himself, the Secretary of State now, which again, another weird thing to say out of my mouth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, but here we are. He was one of the chief proponents for USAID for years. Just a year ago, he was complaining they weren't getting enough money. And now he's in charge of dismantling it. They said it was a big part of keeping China at bay. And yet here we are dismantling the thing to keep China at bay. And once again, there's a reason. There's a billionaire mucking about in the United States government, doing what he wants. And that's where he's at. And he's dismantling pieces of our government. At the same time as that, now we also hear that Doge is going around and DOGE is going around. There is a Doge employee, according to the VA. They announced, because on Wednesday there was rumors flying that Elon Musk himself was at VA. Eventually we found out that there's a single employee of Doge at VA. The Secretary of VA, Doug Collins, again, another one I can't believe I'm saying, but VA Secretary Collins announced that no, they have no access to veterans' personnel records. They have no access to our pay. But at the same time, we know a 25-year-old had access to the entire Treasury Department payout. So where do you think your check goes through as a veteran? Where do you think your military retirement goes through? The United States Treasury, which then sends money, okay? So some 25-year-old guy who goes on LinkedIn by the name Big Balls up there and has access, well, then he has access. And then have access to our information. Maybe not our health records yet, but we are going to fight that battle here at VoteVets and keep on fighting forward. It's just they have no right to our data. Okay, they have no right. Here we go. You know, we earned our benefits, and there will be an assault on our benefits. There's no doubt. It's in Project 2025. It's in the plans, and people are scared. So we're only going to keep it short today, but the biggest thing I want to tell you, I just had a wonderful conversation with one of the co-founders of Indivisible, and what she said very clearly is it does work. Look, if you talk to any congressional staffer, anybody who's ever worked in the Hill, they're going to tell you the dirty secret they don't want you to know. The dirty secret is calling your member of Congress in the Senate works, because they get a report on how many calls they get. Now, don't call one from a different state. I know you want to call Josh Hawley. It's a waste of time, isn't it? But it's not a waste of time for me, who lives in Missouri, to call Josh Hawley, because they have to listen to their constituents. They're required to write down the number, write down the call subject, and report on that. It does matter. There's just a story in Axios today how Democrats have gotten record numbers of calls from their constituents demanding they take action against these just awful plans. So I'm telling you now, you have the power. Call your Congress. Look, even if they're on our side, this is going to be something you're not going to believe you're going to hear it from me. Call your congressman who's doing a good job, like Andy Kim in the Senate or Eugene Vindman in Virginia 7. If you saw, Jamie Raskin was there, Chris Murphy was there, a lot of them. Man, Maxwell Frost in Florida has been knocking on doors and trying to get his way into the Department of Education. Those are the people. Today, a letter was signed by a number of senators going to the VA secretary demanding that Elon Musk stay out of, wish we'd found that, wish we had got JJ. That just came out a little while ago, as a matter of fact, a letter from the senators demanding that they keep him out of the VA. And so they, I'm sorry. And so they are doing, so do this. If they're doing a good job, tell them that too. Okay. They need to know that you're paying attention and you're saying, thank you. Thank you for showing up and pounding those doors. Thank you for not allowing them to mess with our benefits. If they're not doing enough, tell them that too. Be polite, be honest. But if you've got a Republican like me in Missouri, call them all and say, you need to do something. We are watching, and your day will come if you do not protect our veterans, protect their families, protect our service members. There's things going on that are ridiculous. We'll talk another one. I don't know if you guys heard, there's a telework freeze. Did you know for the last 10 years, the Department of Defense itself has led a program called the Military Spouse Employment Edition, and MSEP, and the Chamber of Commerce and Blue Star Families. They've led a campaign to get military spouses employment. You know what the biggest employment improvement they've made has been? Allowing them to get telework with the federal government. Hundreds, if not thousands, of military spouses are able to work now doing telework for the federal government because they can work from anywhere, be it Italy, Germany, Iowa, Idaho, middle of nowhere, Missouri. When they put in that telework freeze, they're going to they're going to unemploy thousands of military spouses who had unemployment at one point as high as 30 to 35%. Those are the second and third order effects of these decisions that you have the power. You can see on the screen now, JJ put up the numbers to call. Call up your congressman, go to their local office. You can go to the local office all you want. Knock on the door and say, hey, got an opinion about something. There's been groups organizing to visit their local offices and make their known, sign petitions. Again, the biggest thing I want to tell you guys is you have power. You have the power to make a difference. And of course, the biggest one, because I am working for VoteVets, I got the t-shirt and everything. Go to votevets.org, go to our website, click on the Take Action button, get your email address into our email database, get yourself in there. We are actually organizing, we're updating our impactive groups to start organizing you. If you want to participate, if you've been affected by these, maybe you're a federal employee or a military spouse or a service member, you can contact us, get hold of us. We are in the fight. As you can see, we're already spending money this year to convince constituents of wavering Republican veterans to get in the fight and stop this insanity. So I won't keep you any longer. I just want to tell you guys, we really appreciate you, man. We got a lot of you guys showed up. That's awesome. We are really, really keeping an eye on these things, and we'll continue to keep an eye on them. If you want to keep updates, one of the new things we're doing is called FYSA for your information. SA, situational awareness. I love it. Yeah, back in military mode. But we've got new short videos going out. You'll see them on all of our social networks. I'll jump on camera, do a 1-minute video, maybe a 2-minute video explaining these issues like that, like Gaza, like the VA. Those are our new things. So look for those. A great way to find all of this is to subscribe right here in this YouTube channel, or all of our social media channels. We're VoteVets everywhere. But go to that YouTube channel, hit subscribe. You'll get all of our new videos. We post them. We got a lot of veterans speaking up. This is the fight. We knew Donald Trump was going to come for us. We knew they were going to have some crazy ideas, and that's why we're here, and we're the right people to do it, and you are the right people to be part of it. We just need you to step up. We could do it together, and there's no doubt. Don't lose hope. Don't lose your hope, your desire for the fight. I mean, come on. If you're a veteran, if one of our friends are veterans, you got family members that are vets, you know how we are. We're all ridiculously dumb people about running towards the sound of the guns, aren't we? I'm known for that myself. And so we're not going to change that now. There's a fight ahead of us. We're not going to shrink from it. We need you to do it. So I am Fred Wellman. You've joined us for VoteVets on the line with VoteVets here on Friday afternoon. We love seeing you guys. We will see you again next week. In the meantime, VoteVets.org. Keep up the fight. Start typing. Start calling. We could do this. We're going to have to stop it right in this dead tracks. We will see you again next week.